Welcome to another CPS WebTips session. My name is Scott Swan, and I am a process solution architect for Clear Process Solutions. And today's topic is going to be on Winshuttle Evolve, adding and consuming web services. It is actually a little different than in Foundation, and there's actually a new feature too that's been added to the most recent version of Winshuttle Evolve that we'll talk about also. So let's move on. So the key points of this WebTips is we're going to talk about adding a SOAP web service to the Evolve environment and then adding it to a solution. And then we'll also discuss using a REST-based API service, which in Winshuttle Evolve 20.2 has been added. So that feature is now added to the latest version of Evolve, and you can actually call a REST-based API. So we'll walk through doing that also. So let's start off on SOAP-based. So in the previous Winshuttle Foundation, all you had to do to add the SOAP web service is just to open up the Composer solution, right-click on Web Services, and just add it. So there is a slight difference in the Evolve platform. So there's two options you pretty much get with that. You can actually add a global scoped web service to the Evolve environment by going to the administration application and the connections and the screenshot and then external web services, and then just clicking the add button, add the new service WSDL URL and name it, and then it's there. And then option 2 for SOAP-based web services is going to be what they call an application scoped web service. So it's only for the application that it would actually be usable. So someone creating a solution in a different application would not have it accessible. So again, why choose the option 1 or 2? Basically, I follow this principle. If there's more than one application scoped need for the web service, then I'm going to put it in the global under the administration application and then do it there. And if it's only something that's only going to be called within one application of Evolve, then I would put it in there. If it's going to be across 1 or 2 or 2, 3, or 4 applications, then I would always do the global one there. So, all right, so let's start off with a demo here. So let's go ahead and open up our Composer solution. Our Evolve solutions here. And so the first thing I wanted to show you was on the administration side. So if you want to do a global scoped SOAP-based web service add or a REST-based API and you want to add it, you would actually go to the administration app, click on connections, click on external web services there, and then you're going to click on add. And then you'll name it, put the URL with the WSDL at the end of it, and get that added there. Okay, and if you're going to do app level, which is what I've done for these two APIs that I have actually created here. So I'm in my Scott Demo app, and you'll see that I've added a couple of different math calculator web services. So I've added the math web service here. That's a publicly released API, so real easy to work with. So I wanted to do that on the demo. And then this is the calculator SOAP-based web service there. So I have clicked on add here and added them locally to this application. So now any solution I develop inside the Scott demo, I'll be able to use this. Okay, so the second thing we need to do is, now that we have the web services added to the Evolve platform, now I want to go back to my designer, and I've already built a form that's got fields on it, buttons and all that. So I've already created the fields that I'm going to use for the web service. I tend to do that most of the time instead of letting the web service create its own fields, because I want to create them in the structure I want. So for a SOAP-based web service, all you need to do, and this is very similar to the Composer now, so it's right in line with what it used to be in Foundation. So I right-click, click on Import. And now what I'm going to get to do is pick from the global and app level scoped web services. So I'm going to click on this. click on Calculator SOAP, which is the one I added for the SOAP base, and I'm going to click Next. And then it's just going to ask me to fill in the same information I used to have to before. So I'm just going to calculate. I can spell, right? And then the group, I'm just going to give it some kind of a group name. Calculator SOAP is the web service. And now I can see in SOAP you have multiple methods or operations. So I'm going to use the add one because that's the one I was wanting to do. So I'm going to be able to add two numbers together and get a result. Because I put all the fields on the form already, I'm going to just go ahead and say I want to use existing output fields and input. So the web services integer A is going to come from value 1 on my form. And integer B, the web service is going to be value 2 on my form. Okay. And then the result of the web service call is going to go into the total field on the form there. So now I'm building the field mappings and I'm going to hit OK. And so, as you know, just like the old Composer days, you know, you can see this is the field mapping. You can edit it right under Web Services. And so now the next thing I have to do, of course, is to use a web service. I still need to put a web service control on the form. So I'm going to double click, add my one web service on the form, and I've got that. And as you can see, there's no web service chosen yet. So I'm going to pick the Calculator SOAP one that I've added. And then I'm going to say, because I have a button that's going to execute that web service, I'm going to go ahead and do that, invoke by button. That's going to be the SOAP add. So now these two values, so value 1 is going to be added to value 2, and the result should come back in the total field. So I'm going to go ahead and deploy this solution, and we'll make it launch too, so we can just test it out. And let's see if I got this right. So 50 plus 30 should give me 80, right? So I'm going to click SOAP add, and now I've got the 80 result. So 70 plus 30 should give me 100. Okay. So now I have actually added a SOAP-based web service and consumed it inside the designer in Evolve. So I'll go ahead and close this form, and let's go back to our PowerPoint here. And the next tip I wanted to show is the REST based APIs for the Evolve platform. This is, again, is something that was added in 20.2, first version of Winshuttle Evolve with this functionality added. Previous Winshuttle Foundation platform could not do REST-based calls built in. So there really was no option. And so these are added just like the SOAP-based web services. They're either global or going to be app level to the Evolve application. In fact, when I showed you the list of ones I added to my app, you saw there was a Math.js one in there. That's the one we're going to use. I've already added. Now, adding the REST-based API to the solution is mostly different than what we did with the SOAP-based web service. So that one's going to be the new part of this. Within the solution, we're going to go to the data connection and add a new data connection. And then we're going to pick a type of REST API and then fill in all the appropriate data is what we're probably going to do there. So, all righty. So I think we're ready for our demo for this one. So we'll go back to our solution just as a refresher. This is our REST-based API here, as you can see. Doesn't have the little WSDL ASMX, so it's not SOAP-based. All right, go back to our solution. And as I said, what we're going to do here is we have to add it as a data connection, a REST-based API. So we're going to right-click, add a new connection. And we'll just give it a name here. Just call it sign. Do a select from the type, and this is where we're going to pick our REST API. And here's where everything gets a little bit different too. So now we're going to say it's a REST-based API, but then you have to actually pick the one you want. And this will read, this dropdown will read from global and app level APIs. So I see the map.js that I added. So I want to add that. Now it actually automatically brings in the URL. And then also it gives me the choice of what type of operation. This one happens to be a post. So I will use that. And now we have to develop the JSON schema for the input and outputs. And if we want errors and request headers, stuff like that. So first thing we want to do is we're going to do the API input schema. So you have to click on the browse button. And I use the text here. And then I will use a JSON format of the string. There. That's exactly what JSON needs for that. There's the express. That's the actual input value, EXPR, for the expression, and it's a string. And then I hit OK, and then I want to go to the API output schema, and I want to grab the output of this REST API. So it comes back with a result and an error string. So I'm going to hit OK. And I don't have any request headers or response headers, but that's where you would add these. You can look at the screen and you can actually add all you need. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. So now I've actually told it I've got a REST-based API. It's a post. And here are the output and input schemas that are needed. But I don't have field mapping set yet. So the next thing you have to do in here is right there where the REST API has been added. Now I need to right click. Now I want to do a create form fields mapping here. So I want to click on that, and that's going to give me the field mapping. This is the math.js call, right? So web service name, group name. I might want to just name this. Keep it simple here. So I'm going to say this is the web service name. I can give it a name or whatever I want. It's already routed to that REST API, and it already knows it's a post operation because that's the one that's been exposed that I told it to. So I'm going to hit next, and now it's going to allow me to have a space in there. That was my fault. My bad. Let's get rid of that. There we go. So, okay, and so now again, on the form, I have most of the fields I want. So I'm going to just say use existing. So for the expression, I want to map it to the expression text box. And so there's only one input there. And now the outputs, there's going to be a lot because it's REST-based. You're going to get a lot of extra stuff here. So I'm going to let it create its own data log, response status, response code, and error. The only thing I want to get returned back into a special location that I've specified is the result. And I'm going to say, hey, that's going to go into the result field on the form. And I'm not mapping any error values, so I'm not concerned about that. So, but if it did have something like that, we'd map those too. So hit OK. And so now I've actually done the field mapping. As you notice now, that math.js mapping entry is right here. And so I can edit the mapping if I needed to. This is very similar to the SOAP-based one where you can actually edit same little choices there, right? Okay. So now I've got the REST-based API added to the platform, added to the solution. The field mapping is set up. So now I need to add a new web service control again. So I want to double click. I've added a second one here. Over here on the web service name, I want to go ahead and pick the one now. This one is the math.js one that I'm mapping to here. And I want to use the REST math button there. So I'm going to go ahead and pick that. So now this web service math.js is going to be invoked when I click on this button. So I'm going to write an expression and hopefully get a result. I'll go ahead and launch the form. And let's just put a simple expression here, 5 plus 25. Should give me 30, right? Hopefully. And now we'll go ahead and hit the button to call that web service, and I got 30. So maybe 50 plus 40. How about that? That's 90. Yep. How about if I do 50 times 40? Right. There we go. So I can write the expression, call the REST-based API, and get my result back. So pretty much that is how you do the REST-based calls. The REST-based API feature, again, is a great addition to the product. I'm glad 20.2 has it in there. It really opens up a lot more API calls. And these days where the REST APIs are the most common and not SOAP anymore, that's a good thing. So let's go back to our PowerPoint here. And so it was a good WebTips here. If you have any questions about the company or anything else, feel free to email us at info@clearprocesssolutions.com. And feel free to visit our website. You can sign up for WebTips and get announcements when WebTips get released. Thank you for joining us today. Look forward to bringing more WebTips to you in the future. Have a wonderful day. Thank you very much.